Well, there are many ways to describe Canadian singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan, a multi-award winning musician, an icon, a visionary, a philanthropist. In the late 1990s, she went against an industry standard and did something that many at that time thought was impossible. So you got to really put your head back into the late 90s. We're talking about her groundbreaking all-woman music festival, Lilith Fair. There's a new documentary that's looking back at the impact of the festival.
And I was so young and green and naive. If this is what a major label looks like and that's what they expect from me, I'm like, no, I can't do it. Then I realized that I was missing that sense of connection and community. I feel lonely. This is a weird job, and it would be so nice to connect with other women who are doing a similar thing to me.
Lilith Fair, Building a Mystery, premieres on CBC Gem and on CBC Television. You can catch it this month. Rachel McLean is a supervising producer of the film, and she's with us from Ontario, from Warworth, Ontario. Hi to you.
Hi, lovely to be here.
I have to say, just before we talk about the film, that I should let listeners know that I'm really going to lean into this because I was at Lilith Fair in 1999 in Edmonton. Me and my girlfriends from Winnipeg, we made the trip, and we wanted to be there for this moment in music history. You were there too.
I was, yeah. I grew up in Ontario, but all my family on my mom's side is in the prairies. And so we made a plan to visit the Desjardins in Edmonton when it was that date. And I am so happy for that. But yeah, so I was there. We were there together in the pouring rain with,
Yep.
and just keeping warm by keeping close to get to each other.
I was going to save some of this for later in the interview, but let's go there now because I started it. What did it mean to you? Why did you want to be there as a young woman?
I am still a huge Sarah McLachlan fan, and a fan of all of the artists that played. And so really, primarily, I wanted to be there for the music. I don't know if as a preteen, I was really fully aware of the motivation and what these artists were up against in terms of it being, something that people didn't think was going to succeed. But I was there for the music above all else.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But when we are in the crowd and thinking about me and my friends being in the crowd, there was certainly this understanding that this is something special and important for women.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the film. So the world premiere in Toronto at TIFF this past weekend. How was the experience?
It was thrilling. After working on this for a few years, I know that myself and the team that worked on it, you get a little bit myopic watching the cuts, cut after cut after cut. And so to be in a room with the audience experiencing it was out of this world. And we were lucky to have Paula Cole and Joan Osborne there in addition to Sarah McLachlan. And so having the audience be able to give them a really warm, welcoming reception was something special to be part of.
Tell us a little bit more about the documentary. Obviously, we know it recounts McLachlan's groundbreaking music festival, but how's it structured?
We were really fortunate to have a lot of archive, like 600 hours of archival tape from the festival. And so we mined through all of that to find the best performance moments and, other special things that were happening backstage so that we could really give the audience an immersive feeling of being there rather than it just being a talking head documentary where people are telling you about an experience. You really feel like you're in it.
The film also does explore the criticism of the festival that it faced. So one of those things was the lack of diversity in the artists and the music. How was that addressed by Sarah McLachlan?
Sarah, after year one, they came up against some feedback. People were calling it Lily White Fair and saying that there wasn't enough racial diversity and musical diversity on the festival. And so they took that to heart and they went out harder to a wider net of artists. And they ended up getting Erykah Badu, Missy Elliott, Queen Latifah, Michelle Ndegeocello, Deborah Cox. And so they also cite that with making the festival more successful and just a more interesting concert bill to be on.
I do also recall, we were talking about what we recall, that it was sort of, even though it was these huge artists it was somehow like, it's women though. Like I remember that feeling, which even as a fan, I remember that. So how much do the artists reflect upon, how much they had to fight for this?
Well, we're able to show it a lot because they did press conferences every day for the festival because they had a policy where they would give $1 per ticket to a local charity or women's shelter. So in order to give out the checks, they do a press conference. And at these press conferences, they were asked the most inane questions, about like, is it a danger making women a genre? And like, well, we're not actually saying that, And so you can see through the footage from the press conferences what exactly the women were up against, in addition to them, talking firsthand about their experiences.
Why do you think that it's had such a lasting impact, the Lilith Fair Music Festival, which of course had a reboot? 99 was the last time you and I were there. It had a reboot, I think it was 2010. But why do you think it's had that lasting impact?
I mean, it planted the seeds for a lot of people to go and do their own Lilith Fair. And we've got Brandy Carlisle in the doc, who she attended as a teenager, and she cites it as being the #1 inspiration for how she has conducted herself as an artist and how she's organized all of these different types of concerts, with that in mind of, well, the door's open for me, so I'm going to let all these other people in and we can share an audience and share the stage and share in success. So there's that kind of thing. Erykah Badu, Queen Latifah, Jill Scott, they started their own Lilith Fair type thing called Sugar Water. And there's all of these different little ways that that festival just totally proved wrong the inane industry rules, but also showed a glimpse of possibility. And it's a bit of a David versus Goliath story.
What do you think the chances are that there's going to be a Lilith Fair? I guess it'd be 3.0 now.
I think the chances are pretty high. I've been watching how Sarah answers this question because she gets asked it a lot. And recently the answer is yes, I would definitely be in support of it. And she would love it if a younger artist would take on, being the face of the festival and doing the bulk of the work, because it takes a lot of energy. She recognizes that the 3 main years of the festival, it was all encompassing. It took up her whole life. And I don't know that she's necessarily interested in that, but definitely recognizes that something like a Lilith Fair would be relevant today and should be helmed by, a newer artist.
Thank you very much for giving us an inside look at the doc. Appreciate it.
Thank you.